everyone, my name is Naya. Welcome to my brand new art channel, Pandemonium Arts. It took a long time for me to decide what kind of video to make when I first started this channel, but then I remembered about this art challenge that was going around called Meet the Artist. Meet the Artist is exactly what it sounds like. A bunch of artists drawing themselves and introducing what they like and dislike, and even a bit of their personality or day-to-day life, because we show off the contents of what my bag would have on a regular basis. I figured this challenge would be a perfect opportunity for you to get to know me and talk a little bit about my channel. So, starting off here, as you can see, I skipped showing the foundation sketch that I drew and moved right into my secondary sketch. I did this because the video took a lot longer than I originally intended for it to take, so I had to cut a few things out so that it wouldn't be so long and drawn out. If you're interested to see the process of me drawing my first sketching layer, please stay tuned for future videos because I will be sure to include it in those. It's just that doing the likes and dislikes as well as the bag contents of this video took a lot of time in the drawing process, so I did have to make a few cuts. The first thing I started out with in this drawing was making a representation of me. Unfortunately, the thing that I'm most unhappy with in the final product of this drawing is this representation of me. However, it's really only because I've changed a lot in my outward or physical appearance and the way that I want to portray myself to the world between the time of drawing this and now to doing the voiceover. So, that being said, I'm going to both explain what I did do and why, as well as what I would change about what I did and why, starting out with the head. So the first thing you might notice is that I included a few accessories, a bow, glasses, and pointed ear attachments. I included the bow because it's something that everyone thought of as a staple of me and my fashion sense back then. However, recently I've changed my hairstyle altogether and stopped wearing bows. My hair is now parted really far to the right of my head and I'm growing out my bangs, so I've been pushing them to the side and out of the face with the rest of my hair. Because of this change in hairstyle, I've also stopped wearing bows recently, so that's something that I probably wouldn't include if I were to have redrawn it now. As for my glasses, I've worn glasses ever since I was a kid, so I always would have to probably include glasses in a drawing of myself. But back when I drew this, big square glasses were a staple of me and my fashion sense. However, recently I've been really in love with brow line style glasses after my mom convinced me to change the style of glasses that I've worn, and so that's what I've been wearing now for quite a long time actually. Finally, there's the elf ear metal attachment things that I included. So I've actually just included this because it was a representation of how I'm really into fantasy things and drawing things that aren't totally normal, which still rings true, so I probably would have included something like this, or maybe horns on my head or something like that still if I would have drawn it today. My only other comment about the face is that I now also have a septum piercing that I wear. I got this past 4th of July on a vacation with my friends, so I probably would include that in my drawing if I were to redo it today as well. As for the clothing, I really just drew whatever I felt like drawing at the time. I had recently gotten this new pair of high-waisted jeggings from Hot Topic that I really loved, so I decided to include those in the drawing. As for the shirt, I figured adding a crop top would go best with the pants. However, I don't actually own that many crop tops in real life, so it isn't exactly the most accurate as to something you might see me in on a day-to-day basis, especially because I really love fall clothing and things that you can wear in the fall seasons mostly, so that's what you'll see me in most often, or really what makes me feel most comfortable anyway. Finally, you might have noticed already through the sketching layer, but the shoes were really difficult for me. I wanted to include Doc Martens really badly because they are, and have always been for a long time, a huge staple of my style. I love Doc Marten shoes, and I'll wear them all year round if I could. However, I really just wasn't liking the way that the drawing was coming out, so I decided to go for a simple boot-like sneaker and call it a day, which is honestly something that I regret now looking back on this video, since Docs are honestly such a big thing that represents me. They're even drawn on my YouTube banner currently. The biggest takeaway from the outfit, though, is the color scheme. I've been really into maroons and blacks for a long time now. In fact, most of my closet is comprised of these colors, so you'll probably see me wearing those more than anything else. Fashion has really been a huge struggle for me recently, though, because my fashion taste has been evolving more than ever. I've really been finding things that I like more and things that I don't. So I'm not really sure what kind of outfit I would have drawn myself in if I drew myself today, but the colors probably still would have been around the same because they are still colors that I really love. So now I guess that means we're moving on to personal information like my likes and dislikes. As you can see, I've already started drawing a few of those things on the speed paint, so we'll start off with the basics that I included already. I am a cisgendered pansexual female who was born on February 24th, making me a Pisces. I am 5'8" now, though I was 5'7" when I was drawing this. My personality type on 16 personalities is INFP. I do end up playing around a lot with the way that I decide to organize things on this drawing. I think I changed the way that I draw my name a couple times, and I move around the boxes, and I change their color a lot, and it really doesn't look the same as it did when I first start drawing anything, but I decided to include the whole process anyway, just so that you guys can see how I ended up coming to what I decided to come to. I think it would be really interesting for you guys to tell me if anything that I originally had looked better to you for some reason and why. So if you would like to tell me that, you could definitely leave it in the comments. It'd be really cool for me to get to hear. So the next thing that you'll see here in just a couple seconds is me drawing my bag. So I decided to draw my little black backpack because it's the thing that I carry around with me most often. It has a little patch of the dog from Yuri on Ice on it, Makachin, and it also has a little skull patch on it just to give it a little bit more personality. So after that, I start talking about my likes and dislikes on my drawing, and you're going to see that I had something else written at first, but then I changed it, and that's just because I wasn't 100% sold on what I was writing down at first, and I wanted to make sure that it was accurate, so that's all really. So first I wrote coffee and espresso, particularly Cuban espresso is something that I really love because I am Cuban. I really like Japanese soda and vitamin water, sushi, ham, mangoes, anime and cartoons, Dungeons and Dragons, which I decided to give a little heart because I extra love it. I like skiing and I love dance. Star Wars is my favorite movie. Game of Thrones is my favorite TV show. Zelda is my favorite video game series. I really like yoga and I like to go for runs. I play the drum set. I love the ocean. It's one of the most calming things in the world to me. I love my boyfriend. He's one of the most important people in my life. I really like succulents. I will draw them a lot, you might notice. The color purple is my favorite, which is why it's included in this artwork a lot in the boxes. I like lots of different types of music. Particularly, I've been listening to Cave Town a lot recently, and I really like late nights. I stay up really late at night, and I don't like getting up really early, which you will see in my dislikes. I include early mornings. So moving on to my dislikes. Soup, beef, and melons. I really hate all of those foods. I don't like my handwriting. You can see it here, so you might be able to see why. I don't like the cold, but I also don't like the humidity. I don't like white chocolate. I really hate dentists and doctors. They're kind of scary. Stress, which is obvious. Family gatherings and events are stressful for me, so I also hate those. I don't like most holidays. I don't like people or social interaction because it's also stressful. I don't like making group decisions because I don't want to decide on something that not everyone likes. I don't like getting gifts because I feel like I have to give something back and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Like I said, I don't like early mornings. I don't like the smell of oranges for some reason. Might be weird. I don't like cotton balls, especially feeling them when my hands are wet. It might sound weird, but that's something that is a huge pet peeve of mine. I hate cigarettes, and I don't like my self-deprecation. I put myself down a lot. I would probably change a lot of the things on this list now. It sounds really negative, and I don't like focusing on the negative, but that's what I decided to include back then, so that's all. Finally, there are these items that I decided to include for the inside my bag section that you'll see here. So starting out with the bigger things, there are the electronics, like my Nintendo Switch, which is my favorite video game console currently. I decided to draw the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on it, just as a reference to what my favorite game on it is. There's also my Google Pixel 2, which is the phone that I'm using right now. It's got the phone case that I have on it and a little red panda, and I colored it blue because I have the slightly blue colored Google Pixel. Then there is my sketchbook. Currently I'm using a Moleskine sketchbook. It has the Pokemon design on the front of it and a little Charmander. I think it's adorable. Then there is my Michael Kors bag. It's just a little clutch that I keep inside of my backpack. It has all of my money and bank cards and things like that in it. Sometimes I keep my passport in it. The next biggest thing is probably my neighbor Totoro plushie. It's a little plushie that my boyfriend gave to me a while ago. I absolutely love it. I think it is adorable and perfect. I usually don't keep it in my bag necessarily, but it is something that's really important to me, so I decided to include it. Then there is my keys. So on my keys I have my room key and my house key, and then I have two little keychains from Game of Thrones on it, the Targaryen symbol and the House of Stark symbol. They're both 3D and they are like pretty heavy and metal, so I was considering getting rid of them off my keychain for a while, but they're still there, so I decided to draw them. Then you might notice I have a couple art supplies. So I usually have a hard eraser and a kneaded eraser in my bag, along with 2 mechanical pencils and my set of Copic liners that I have, as well as Copic markers. I usually keep just 2 to 3 on me, and I do like very minimal coloring when I'm out and about, but yeah, I do have those. And then finally there's like some self-care products. So I have hand cream. It's like a peach scented thing that I got from Bath and Body Works, I think. And then I also have a hand sanitizer that's vanilla scented. I also got from Bath and Body Works. I have a Too Faced Born This Way concealer. I usually have some sort of chapstick in there, so I just drew some nondescript chapstick bottle. Then I have a beauty blender for blending out my concealer with, and finally I usually have a pack of tissues on me just in case. The last thing I decided to include was a Twix bar, just because they're my favorite candy. Sometimes I'll have one of these in my bag, but usually not, more often than anything, just because it is chocolate, so they melt. If I were to have redrawn this today, I probably would have included some of my Sharpie paint markers, because I like to keep those on me recently. But other than that, that's about it. Everything else seems to be about accurate and totally the same as it was before. So yeah, that's all for my Meet the Artist challenge, I suppose. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I will link my Wix site down below so that you can see more of my art on my portfolios if you would like. I'll also link my other social media sites down below. You can also find them on my YouTube channel. In addition to that, I did include some other artists' YouTube channels linked onto my YouTube channel. I don't necessarily know them or have any sort of personal connection with them, but they are just channels that I personally like, so I decided to include in case if you're looking for other artists to watch on YouTube. And yeah, that's all. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave any comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe as well as the bell icon if you're interested in seeing any videos from me in the future. Like I mentioned, I am looking forward to showing my full sketching process if that is something that you're interested in viewing, so be sure not to miss that.